We're going to give it one more minute here, guys. 60 seconds. We'll kick things off and start talking about our topic today. So I still see the attendance and the participant list is climbing pretty rapidly here. So we'll try to give folks just another maybe 30 seconds to get settled in, and then off we go.
Off to the exciting stuff of walls,
right.
graphics, installations, all of the coolest things in the world.
That's right, man. That's right. This is a very basic topic, but man, is it impactful. So, gosh, it just keeps climbing. All right, I think we should probably get going. Respect all those folks who showed up on time. We're going to try our best to limit this to a solid half hour and then Q&A beyond that. So anybody that's on the call today, if you need to duck out after a half hour, you will have gotten a lot of great intel, some great takeaways. And then if you want to stick around, you have questions. Typically when we host these, we have 15, 20, 30 minutes of extra questions and people stick around for it. So we'll just see where the conversation goes and see what we got. First off, thank you for joining, everybody. We really appreciate you taking time out of your day. Two really quick housekeeping bullet points here. We are recording today's session, and whether you have to drop off or not, you'll get the recording of the whole thing. So don't feel like if you have to leave early, you're not going to get something. We will send the recording out to everybody. Also, everybody's on mute except for the three of us, but we do encourage you to kind of blow up that Q&A question section. There's a Q&A box. You have something, drop it in there. We'll either try to address it real time or we'll get to it at the end and line them up and just knock out as many as we possibly can in a casual conversation. All right, so my name is Frank Logan. I'm the VP of Revenue Operations here at ARC and Riot, and I get the pleasure of introducing and paneling and hosting Mark Johnston he's a general manager from Swiftwall, and Evan Gayden, who's the Director of Sales and Operations over at Riot Creative Imaging. So these two guys are really a ton of fun. I loved working on this session with the two of them. Here's a little bio on both. So Mark has been with Swiftwall for just over 5 years as their general manager. He's based at the company's headquarters up in Midland, Michigan, and he oversees operations, engineering, sales, and marketing. So he's really in charge of the whole flow there. He's worked with nearly every industry, and I'm going to rattle off a whole bunch of them. It feels like I'm going to go on forever. Manufacturing, retail, entertainment, warehousing, healthcare, airports, commercial construction, major events, military, local, and federal government. I don't know if there's anything we missed in there, Mark. You've kind of worked with everybody, right? Yeah. The thing I like most about when I'm working with Mark is super, super hands-on approach. He gets down in the weeds, he gets in the trenches with the team, and he works very hands-on with them. He gets tactical, and he just brings a ton of knowledge and wealth to just about every project. Doesn't matter if it's big or small. So welcome, Mark.
Evan, you set the bar very high.
No, it's true. Everything we said about you, man, it's a ton of fun to be around you, and you just bring the real. So, Evan
is I have to follow that.
Well, here we go. Here comes Evan. Right, 30 seconds on Evan. He's from our Orange County, California location, and he leads one of our largest divisions, both sales and operations for graphics out of the Riot California division. He has over 2 decades of experience and a huge passion for client satisfaction off script. I've literally watched him work hand in hand with clients. It's really awesome to see. He, again, brings the real, but he brings passion and excitement and brings their projects to life. His focus is all things graphics, right? So when I think walls, I think Mark. When I think graphics, first name that comes to mind is Evan. Just like Mark, super hands-on and immersed with customer projects. And he becomes part of his client's team, right? So you're going to hear from 2 gentlemen today that have a world of experience, a wealth of experience on graphics and walls. We're super lucky. Let's jump into things. First off, here's our agenda, right? We're going to talk about what are temporary modular barricades. Why do we want to start avoiding drywall? What are the benefits of reusable walls? And what's the power of adding graphics to these walls? You'll see on the right-hand side, it's a beautiful looking wall, but once you put graphics on it, bam, it just comes to life, right? And then, hey, how do we get started? Where do people want to go next? What do we want to think about as they're thinking about future projects? First, we want to ask the audience, get you guys involved. So Delphine, who's helping admin this with us, she's going to put up a question. Oh, there it is. There's your poll question. Asking everybody, just take a few seconds. Who are you? Where are you from? Which industry do you most closely align with? Wow, I can really see everybody's jumping at this. We got 30 respondents, 40 respondents, 50 respondents. So it's just climbing really fast now. It looks like a lot of folks from construction, property management, property and retail management, architecture is in represented. A little bit from the government and military. Some airports are here. Give that another 5 seconds. Fabulous. That's great. So Delphine, I think you can share the results of that. And thanks for ending that poll. There we go. So she is now sharing the results. So we got 31% of you are from construction industry. Another 19% are from the property management and retail space. Architecture is at 8%. Government, airports, and manufacturing rounded out the rest of it. So thank you. That's fabulous. Now we know who we're talking to. Thank you, Delphine. You can stop sharing that one. And we have one more question we wanted to ask you all. When it comes to temporary barricades and putting them on your projects, is this all brand new to you? Do you use them all the time? Is it rare that you use them? I've seen them used, but I'm eager to learn more. Tell us what your vibe is there. Okay, results are flooding in, and it is almost 25% even across the field. Mark and Evan, can you see those results as they're coming in there?
No, yeah.
Not yet.
No, okay. All right, it's 25, 23, 21, and 31. So Delphine will share the results. We got a little bit of everybody. We got some experience here. We have some newbies. We got some folks who've never heard of it. We got some people who are just interested and eager to learn more. So perfect. I think that really does actually help us quite a bit. So thanks everybody for taking those 2 poll questions. All right, enough of Frank. Let's hear from the guys. What the heck are temporary modular barricades? That picture speaks a million words, right? But we're going to ask Mark to first give us the 10,000 foot definition. And then I got some videos here I'm going to play and have Evan just walk us through a little case study. And I think in the next 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, you guys are really going to understand what these things are. So take it away, Mark.
All right, thanks, Frank. So the easiest way for me to tell about what temporary barricades are is to give you the history of walls. So it'll take about 20 or 30 minutes to give the history of walls. No, I won't do that, Frank. I won't do that. So walls, the first walls were about 80,000 BC. So we were running around trying to stay away from, tigers and predators and stay alive. And we decided that we needed walls. So 80,000 BC. And up until about 1894, is when gypsum started being used for wall. Gypsum and drywall, 1894, 1916. And since then, we've been using gypsum and drywall up until 2015. Why gypsum and drywall compared to what we were using prior to that? It was lightweight, it was fast, it was cleaner, it was easier to install, it had a nice finished look, better than rocks and stone and wood and all the things that we were using before that. Well, come 2014, 2015, a few temporary wall companies came up on the market, and guess what we did? We took the same thing that gypsum and drywall did for the market and made it even better. It's simpler, it's faster, it's lightweight, it's more durable, it's versatile, it's clean. So that's what temporary walls are. It's a new way to build something quick, fast, simple, easy, that's clean and durable.
Sorry, I went on mute there for a second. That's a perfect understanding of what these walls are. Thank you, Mark. A little history lesson in there too, sprinkled in. So fabulous. And if anybody ever wants to hear the full history of walls, definitely dial up Mark. He's got a heck of a couple bullet points he can walk through for you. It's really actually quite engaging. All right, so I'm going to hit the play on these 3 videos. And Evan, break down what's going on in this project here.
Yeah, so what you can see here is a little bit of time lapse of us actually erecting a temporary barricade up in a retail space. So this is about 285 linear feet of barricade need, outside of a storefront. They're going to be doing construction all on the face. And this is us actually going to work installing it. You can see how quick and easy that these panels, these modular barricades can come together. It's 285 square feet of material. So imagine that coming into a space, stackable, loading in, the braces maybe that hold it, how quick and easy that all comes together. You know, just in that little snapshot, you get an idea of how modular barricades can quickly come together. The graphic side of it, you're showing here, Frank, you know, that's 2,500 square feet of graphic going up on these barricade walls, these temporary walls. So not only were we able to erect those walls all in one day, follow it back up by making them beautiful with those graphics going from tip to tail all the way over them, 2,500 square feet of graphic wrap up on these walls. Just a beautiful, beautiful setting.
So I want to back up a second. How long did it take us to put up the wall?
Yeah, that's a day. That's not days. That's a day. Those are hours.
A day to put up a wall. Okay, so
yeah, 285 linear feet of wall.
200. Okay, so and the crew was 3 or 4 or 5 guys.
Yeah, we went all out, you know, but you could easily install this with 2 guys in that similar time frame. But yeah, we had 3 or 4 guys on this project.
Okay, so back at the very, you know, if we just back up here to before the videos, I think those 6 bullet points, coupled with what Mark said about the history of walls and what these things are, if there's any takeaway from our team, from our audience today, there's 6 bullet points to grab, right? And then the proof is in the pudding with that time lapse. Now, granted, it's a time lapse. It looks like it's 30 seconds, but within a day, you've got a massive wall with graphics on it, right?
And Frank, if you go back to the history of walls, right, you have tried to do that same structure with drywall even. You'd had to wait for the off-gassing. There'd have been all kinds of delays. You have to wait for the next crew to come in to do the next part, right? Because each one has a specialty that they do. So yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, right on. Thanks. That's good perspective. All right, I'm going to fast forward here, and I want to talk about the why factor. And I'm going to team Mark up for this. Why do folks even want to use these modular barricades?
So one of the key things right now is, you know, everybody's looking for taking care of the earth and a better earth and leaving a better planet. It's all about sustainability, that circular economy, because they're reusable, they're recyclable. They use them because they want to be able to separate space. So on a construction project, you're separating it. They want to be able to create space. They need to be able to create a conference room or create storage or something like that, or they want to totally transform the space, right? So they're using the temporary walls for all those different environments. So you've got construction renovation, you got events and entertainment where they're configuring space. You've got emergency response and humanitarian relief where you can build out, you know, 180 to 200 places for people to live and have sanctuary in a matter of a couple days. Government and military applications to scale space, you know, manufacturing, you're adding offices, you're reducing offices, you're putting new machinery in, you're taking new machinery out, you're adding manufacturing cells, and all this is happening super fast. You're reusing it, you're reconfiguring it. The panels can be refurbished, repurposed, and you're reducing the labor by over 80% within 5 uses, or your cost and your labor. And then, you know, the recyclability of it. So like some of the temporary walls, for example, we have Swift Wall Max. It's 100% aluminum, 100% recyclable, right? It came from recyclable materials, and it can be recycled at the end of use. So, and by using these temporary walls and all the different types and product types out there, you know, we're eliminating tons and tons of materials and waste and hazardous waste from going into the landfills. So over 16 million pounds at Swift Wall alone, 60 linear miles of, you know, materials that would have went into the landfill that are hazardous and not healthy for the environment. So
that's a great why. And again, these bullet points are, I feel like they each have a huge story to be told. Mark summarized it very cleanly here. What we're going to get into now is kind of a dirty part of the business, right? We're going to ask Mark again, you know, and we've all, look, I've put up drywall in the past, and I've dabbled with this, and I'm sure many of our clients on the line here, or even folks that just are curious about it, have dabbled with drywall. We've always used it for hundreds, like 100+ years, right? But how are we trying to get away from this, and why are we trying to get away from the drywall aspect?
Yeah, so there's a certain percentage. So when you're building a new construction project or doing a renovation, there's a certain percentage of it where you're doing phases and you're putting up a temporary wall. And when you put that temporary wall up, historically, we've used the same thing that we've always used, studs and drywall, right? So you bring a crew in and a specialty, you know, a skilled labor that knows how to come up and do the framing. Then skilled labor that comes up and knows how to put the drywall up. Then somebody, if it needs a, you know, level 4 finish, they come up and they mud it and they paint it and do that and they prime it. And then after that, because drywall is messy, somebody's got to come in and clean it up. And you're actually putting, you know, if it's a retail environment, you've got clothes or you've got watches or whatever the thing might be, or in a healthcare environment, you've got dirt and dust and debris that's being created. When you're putting up a temporary wall that's going to be there for a week, these 3 weeks at the different time frames, then they have to tear all that down and then rebuild it somewhere else, right? So you're not able to reuse the materials. It's a lot of labor. It's a lot of waste. It's single-use materials. And unfortunately, you know, when you're in a construction site and using temporary walls, you're accessible to moisture, right? So what happens to drywall or to other materials that when they get wet, they mold, right? So most of your temporary walls are non-microbial, non-hygroscopic. They don't mold, they don't absorb water, and they come in a lot faster, right? So when you're building drywall, you've got all these machines and saws and things coming in there. It's noisy. When you bring a temp wall in, boom, you come and set it in place. It's ready to go. You don't have all the dust and dirt. So for every 70 feet of drywall, when you're using temporary wall, you're reducing 1 ton of waste from going, or eliminating 1 ton of waste from going into the landfill. And, you know, when you look at it from a durability standpoint, temp walls are far more durable, right? You can kick a hole in drywall. Any temp wall that's out there is pretty darn durable. It's better than visqueen. You know, in most instances, it's probably better than plywood, especially aesthetically. And then pipe and drape, you know, you can walk through it, right? So is it really protecting anything? So
yeah. So this is a good tee up for the next slide. This is like kind of the ugly part of the business. Drywall, ton of waste, dirty, difficult, time consuming. We wanted to line up just a bunch of features of and benefits of Swift wall, and a lot of what Mark's going to show here could be applied to other types of temporary barricade walls. But we're lucky enough to be partnered up and teamed up with the manufacturer of Swift wall, right? So we have literally the manufacturer on the line here talking to us about. So we're gonna feature the Swift wall lineup, but a lot of these bullet points can apply to all temporary barricades outside of the drywall. So Mark, talk us through some of these bullet points here.
absolutely. So one of the, you know, advantages and things about drywall is its fire and smoke rating and that type of thing, you know, the safety aspects of it. One of the things you can count on with temporary walls, and you can get that same safety, right? So Class A or Class C fire and smoke rating, you can get, you know, an ABS skin, you can get an aluminum skin. There's different materials that they're made with that'll fit in any environment. Structural engineered, like our max wall is made to be load bearing, weight bearing, wind bearing, indoor use, outdoor use. So when you talk about reusability and reconfigurable, you could use it indoor, outdoor, any environment, right? They're all lightweight and easy to assemble. So you got that 5 times fast install, and that's really important. There are projects where, whether it be retail, a hospital, or an airport, where you need to get in and get out when the customers aren't there, right? The people show up at 0 dark 30, they install it like a bunch of elves, and boom, they're out of there, right? And it reduces your labor costs because it doesn't take very many people to install it, and it doesn't require typically skilled labor. You need somebody that can, you know, kind of make decisions if there's a challenge or a problem on site, and a bunch of helpers, right? And you literally install temp walls at the speed that you can carry them into place. They're so easy to install. No mess, right? We don't have to cut these things. You might have a small or one-time piece that you'll have to cut. Our Pro wall is customizable. Some of our walls and our competitors' walls have adaptation adapters and things that you can add or take away space or inches, you know, so you got a 12-inch wall, a 6-inch wall, a 48-inch wall, etc. Multiple uses, right? So people are getting, we've been around. One of our major customers with us has been a retailer that's been using our walls since 2015. We know they've reused the walls in over 200 stores, at least 20 times a piece. We don't even know what end of life is at this point, right? As long as you take care of it, right? End of life really depends on how you manage and take care of your materials. Insulation ratings of R7 and sound ratings, so it has sound dampening. We also have throughout the different manufacturers increased sound ratings, right? So if you used our Max wall, you could get an STC rating of 40. Depends on what your needs are, how much sound dampening requirement you need. And if you think about that, a regular door in your house is an STC 30, a window in your house is an STC 28. And, so you can get anywhere from STC 21 to STC 40 or so with pretty much a variety of temp walls. Stackable, which is really awesome. You can, if you think about what it takes to put a drywall up and build drywall at 30, 40, 50 feet, you can use temp walls and they'll stack right on top of each other. All you need is a man lift and they go up just as simple as they do as on the floor. So something that would take weeks to install in a stacked, like in a casino where you've got great big tall ceilings, or in an airport where you have great big tall ceilings, you could put these things up, and so it take about 100 linear feet per hour on a normal wall. When you stack it, you got to man lift it, so now you're looking at 100 linear feet every 3 hours, right? So lots of different things that you can do there. And then once you get those big beautiful walls up, the amazing thing is you can add graphics to it to make it whether it be for wayfinding or branding or whatever it is. Most temp walls are made so that you can add graphics to them. And then that reusable, sustainable piece of it, right? Super important that you can reuse them and that we're taking care of the environment. So, to recap it, it's speed, it's cost reduction, it's sustainability, it's flexibility and reconfiguration, it's aesthetics, it's logistics, easy to get in and out, easy to store. Compliance and building regulations, right? You can bypass a lot of different types of building codes when you're putting in temporary walls up because there's exceptions for it. And even in some instances in large warehouse configurations where they're taking a warehouse that's 300,000 square foot of warehouse, dividing it up into smaller little rooms to sublease. Sometimes temp walls can be considered furniture, and it allows them to get different types of coating and things like that. This is a great picture, Frank. So there's a tent in the middle. That's a tent in the middle that's got 180 rooms for people to either live in or whatever inside that tent. And then the other ones are those storage places where they're dividing it up and subleasing those storages out. And can you imagine what it would take to, build 4,000 linear feet of wall? That would take anywhere from 2 to 3 months to build 4,000 linear feet of wall. They're building it out in 4 days to a week. So yeah, that's a lot of the key benefits, I think, there.
Yeah, and we were flipping around some images. We'll get into more images here in a minute, but thanks, Mark. That's really kind of a nice overview on the benefits, the why, more of the why factor that folks on the line here may want to learn more about. There was a question that came in on the chat. We may get to this a little bit later, but I thought we'd just tackle it head on. 1 ton of waste per 70 linear feet is 28 pounds for every square foot of wall. It seems a little high. Could you explain that? And I think it's more than just the drywall piece. There's all the framing that goes with it. There's the weights that hold it down. There's the bracing. It comes out to roughly a 1 ton per 70 linear feet. There may be some doors involved in there as well, which are heavier. Mark, any other color on the calculation there on one ton per 70 linear feet?
No, you got it. You got it spot on. And then it depends on whether it's 2-sided or 1-sided, right? How many? Is it 3/8? Is it 5/8? So yeah.
Yep. Okay, great. Thanks for helping answer that. Okay, let's flip over to Evan, and we want to talk about graphics. Why do we want to put some graphics up on the walls here? I got a couple of bullet points. Evan's going to be doing some talking. I'm going to do a lot of flipping here because he's got some great pictures that explain what he's talking through. But Evan, take it away, man. Why are we putting graphics up?
Yeah, I mean, the graphics look beautiful, or the barricades themselves look beautiful with, the right solutions used. Beautiful white space, clean, seamless, not a grid line. However, it creates a beautiful place for us to put up a graphic, right? It's just a billboard waiting to happen, right? So what better way to use that space to create a buzz of what's coming soon or what the project you're actually working on? Transform that space into a marketable area. Make it for advertising, create new revenue streams. You can actually, create spaces that could offset some of the construction costs or the cost of the barricades themselves by now having this billboard graphic space up. You can incorporate project imagery, very functional messaging, directional and wayfinding, letting people know where to go. You think about a retail environment, if that barricade's coming off of that storefront space, maybe on the sides it's directional, coming soon this way, go that way. Or in the airport, this is the way to security, this is the way over to the restrooms, having that directional space of it, so really functional. The graphics don't have to be just a simple imagery. You can be very creative, they can be interactive, you can create social media moments. So if you think about, let's say, an airport coming off that plane, there's typically a wall that would be up to identify that construction space. What if it was a social media graphic that was up, right? You now created that buzz coming off that airplane. Immediately when that consumer interacts with that wall, you have that graphic in that space. And you can have the graphic go up immediately versus with old drywall and plywood where it has to outgas. So you can have those graphics go up, and you can be very creative with how they're used. Functional, coming soons, directionals, informational, social media moments. The graphic just takes it to that next level, beautifies the space, and really brings color, brings the spaces to life, which would normally just be a construction or safety zone. Graphics are the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of images here, a lot of ideas to plant, but again, a white wall is effective. It's clean, it's sharp, it's simple, it's safe, it leads people in a direction, it does all that. But if you look at the one on the right, it just got such a more, totally transformed, and it almost becomes an experience, right? A journey,
right.
a massive message, right? Versus just a white wall. And these are I'm curious, how difficult is it to put up graphics? Is it hard? Is it time? What goes into putting up graphics?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you got to choose the right material and right media. So having experts be able to come out to a space, make sure that it's been site surveyed, all the measurements are taken, maybe there's mock-ups that are needed just to show what graphic might look like in that space that dodges any obstructions, door handles and things like that. But then you really have to have the right solution in place. So making sure that the right graphic is being used, the right adhesive vinyl that's being used, so that actually it would adhere and be used for what's needed there. We're experts in it, so we know what to line up. Most of the temporary wall barricades can accept a lot of different adhesive vinyl solutions. But yeah, then we have to come out, whether it's typically after hours, if it's an airport or retail space, construction space, we can get away during the day, but then it's after hours, and installing that graphic up onto barricade, two-sided, one-sided, whatever it may be. Ladders and lifts are needed depending on how high up we're going, but super easy and quick is what we do with our graphics going up, with a super easy, quick, and clean barricade that we're installing them to.
I'm seeing a lot of stuff that's inside. I'm seeing a lot of stuff that's outside.
Yeah.
Do these walls hold up? I mean, obviously they do. I mean, you got them up here, but what do I want to think about when I'm going outdoors versus indoors?
Yeah, this is a major difference from a plywood or drywall, right? Think exterior. Think obviously it's not drywall, maybe you're coating it or whatever, it'll break down with weather-wise. But if it's plywood, so think about weather. What state are you in, and what is that weather that is going to impact it and hit it? Is snowplow going to be piling up on it? All of those factors. So you really want a smart, strategic temporary wall barricade solution like the Swift Wall solution that will be able to handle that weather. And then from a graphic component, same thing. We want to make sure that we align the right adhesive vinyl solution and lamination solution that sticks to the wall that it's not going to peel off, it's not going to come down, weather can impact it all day long, the way that we produce it and print it, the sun can hit it, it's going to stick, it's going to hold its colors true all the way through.
How long do, and Mark, maybe you could jump in on this, how long do people put up these barricades? Are they 1 month, 6 months, a year, 18? What's a typical lifespan of a wall going up?
Yeah. And to it because it depends. It's temporary as in the eye of the beholder, right? So, from construction standards, a construction standard is typically 180 days. A week. Sometimes they'll be up for years. We've known them to be up for years. What's interesting, you know, one of the things you used is the word experience. We've noticed that it's become very important, whether it be Google, Walmart, Delta Airlines, a hospital, that customer experience during the construction timeframe is super important because people avoid construction sites, people avoid dirt and dust, and they really don't want to feel that experience of a construction site. And so it's become super important that the graphics look really good and that they still have that experience. You know, the other thing you brought up was winter. So our walls are all non-microbial and non-hygroscopic, meaning they don't absorb water, they don't mold. So we've had a store that had it outside during a tropical storm for, you know, a week or two, and it survived the tropical storm. And we had another one where it was in front on a main street over the winter, the entire winter they were there, and nothing happened to the walls. They endured the winter just fine.
Very cool. Thanks. That's good perspective too. I want to shift the conversation into a little story hour here, not story hour, but the story time. And what you're looking at your screen right now, I feel like is if for everybody on the call, whether you're in retail, whether you're in the military, the government, whether you're in transportation, airports, whether you're in construction or architecture, this picture, this aerial picture, kind of says it all, right? Here's the Great Hall in the Denver airport. And here's a space that many people don't even know what's going on. They're going about their day-to-day business. You have no idea what's going on behind that wall. And just a little elevation and an aerial picture from here kind of tells you really what's going on, right? This wall, Mark, how long did it take to put up this wall?
So to put up that wall was about 4 hours, 4 to 6 hours roughly. It was very simple. Those are two-foot panels, and there's a little brace. Those yellow things that you see are a brace that holds about that. And we have a question: says how does it stand up in the windy conditions? That's a perfect example right there. That's how it stands up in the windy conditions of those braces.
Now, granted, this is interior, but to my understanding, these walls were built with what's called the Swift Walls Max product, which is structurally engineered, designed to withstand very windy conditions. Now it's indoors, and they put it up here for super safety purposes because I think there's a big hole in the backside of that goes down into a train system down below. But the point is, like, this is super structurally sound, very safe, and it went up in 4 hours.
Yeah, and the people can lean on it, right? So what do people do in airports? They lean on things, right? So you can have people leaning on there, and you don't have to worry that they're going to fall down in that subway hole.
Right. Yeah, actually, I see, and there's, I'm going to, Evan always gets excited when I do this. Right up here is another whole entire hallway, right? And you can see there's windows there, there's windows there, there's a door system right there. And if you look through that window, you can see on the other side is a whole other wall going along the same side. So there's a corridor leading pedestrians or you know, people walking very safely down a hallway. It continues down that way, right? That's the upstairs, and then down here, of course, is just keeping everybody safe down below, right? So these walls are all over the airport, up in hours, down in hours. Not that the project may take 12 months, but they didn't have to wait for the wall to be built, or didn't have to wait very long. And then, Evan, what's going on the graphics on these walls here?
Yeah, you know, that's really one of the beauties of this product, you know, and the whole process of it. So those walls can go up in 4 hours. The graphics can go up immediately after, no waiting for that paint to outgas. And in this case, I mean, obviously looking at what they're using it for, directional, right? You've got this big billboard area where do I go? I'm in an airport, which way, where am I heading to? Graphics is the easiest way to convey that. And then also if you wanted to add the messaging of what are we doing behind these walls? I mean, graphics is the easiest way to present that.
I've heard you say outgassing a couple of times. What does that mean?
Yeah, so typically, plywood, that world of plywood and drywall, you require labor to come out, paint, put a primer layer up on it. And all paints are meant to actually dry and cure, but also then chemically outgas. Chemically outgassing doesn't work well with adhesive vinyls. That paint needs that chemical outgas. That adhesive doesn't want to adhere to it. So in the traditional sense, you've got to wait for that time for that paint to actually outgas before you can actually put a graphic up onto it. Otherwise, if we've all seen it out in the world, that graphic starts to fall or fail or curl up. With this type of product, the temporary wall and barricade, modular, reusable, you can put the graphic up immediately and you can rest assured it's going to stick to it.
Okay, so I've seen graphics bubble before. Is that what you're talking about? Like the gas
Yeah,
bubbles up behind it?
so if you've seen them bubble, you've seen them cure, or you've seen them curl, same process. Typically,
Yeah,
it's because that paint hasn't outgassed yet, so it's pushing graphic off.
So the drywall
Rejecting
comes,
it.
yeah, the drywall comes in, they put it up, they mud it, they sand it, they smooth it, they prime it, maybe they paint it, but at least they prime it. Then I put graphics on. I have to wait. How long do I got to wait for outgassing or that process to happen?
Yeah, minimum of 5 days typically. Some manufacturers like 3M, who makes a great product, they're actually requiring 2 weeks or recommending 2 weeks of that time. So think about that space being down, being white, plain, without a graphic or without imagery up before, whereas a temporary wall barricade solution, we can go up immediately, you've got graphic impacted. The space gets used immediately.
We're over time, but it's been a fantastic conversation. We started answering some questions along the way. Evan, Mark, fantastic information. Folks, for those on the line, we're going to continue with some Q&A, but all the bullet points that they listed off before, a couple of slides of bullet points, and all the images you've seen today are going to be to you in this PowerPoint deck at the end. So we'll distribute it to all participants, and actually anybody who registered, even if you weren't able to make it today. So don't worry about that. You'll get this. I wanted to just, let's jump over to the Q&A for a few minutes. I want to talk through some of the questions that came in. Mark, do you see the one in there that says, does it meet California seismic requirements?
Absolutely, yes. So LAX, it is the preferred material in LAX, and they use it, every day at LAX. And we have quite a few companies, whether it be from Northern California to Southern California, Google, Meta, Apple, Tesla, the airport, that are all users of temp walls.
We only have a few earthquakes in California, so it's all right.
Okay, so two questions came in about pricing, right? So what does this stuff cost? One says, can we rent them? So that's a great question. And I think that's where everybody's mind is going right now. How do I get started with this, right? So here at ARC and Riot, we've partnered with SwiftWall. Here's a little bit of a plug, if you will, right? And we've partnered with them so we can help you wrap the walls. And we will even rent them, lease them, or just outright sell them to you. So if you have a project that's 6 months or 12 months or 18 months, give us a shout. We'll talk through what your size, your length, your height, what your requirements are, indoor, outdoor, seismic requirements, etc. We'll talk about what your project needs are, and we'll give you multiple prices. One to rent it for the life of the project. We own it. You give it back to us at the end. You can purchase it. We'll just flat out sell you the materials, and it shows up. As far as installation goes, Mark, I'd love to answer this, but I'd love to hear from you, right? How hard is it to install this stuff?
So, it's a fun question because I'll give you an example. During COVID, the COVID vaccine manufacturing, everything was tight. Nobody could be in. They had their facilities people. There was 4 facility people that had never seen SwiftWall, 16-foot tall walls, 60 by 40. They installed that huge structure for vaccine manufacturing in one day, right? So your facilities manager can do it. However, there's a ton of people out that just don't want to deal with it, right? Come set up my temp walls, put my graphics on, and when I'm done with them, take them away. That's where you guys are great partners, right? You can provide that service.
Great.
Yeah, we support it fully, you know, so if any installation needs, it's super easy to install yourselves, or, you know, to train and walk through it, but if needed, we have that full support to install it and break it down where we need to.
I do want to put a little plug in here. There's all of ARC's locations around the North America, and there's where Swiftwall is manufactured and headquartered in upstate Michigan, right? So where you see a dot, we'd love to start a conversation. We've started putting distributorships around the country, so we have inventory not everywhere, but much closer than just Michigan, so we can get it to you faster. And I think the idea is, and here's around the rest of the world as well. So if we have any international folks joining us today, and I'm going to put that up just as a placeholder. If you want to get started on installing it yourself, they can even train you. We could train you. We could show you how to do it. It's really quite simple to install. There are some other questions about, did I miss pricing? Pricing is such a tricky beast. Until we know how many walls, how many windows, how many doors, how much bracing, indoor, outdoor, all those elements, it's hard to give anybody a price on the phone here today. Like, oh, 1 square foot is going to be this, or 1 linear foot is going to be this. It's very difficult to talk about that. But we do have a couple of slides that we could talk about pricing as compared to drywall, right? Mark, should we go into that a bit?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, let me pull up some of those slides. And it looks like our audience isn't going anywhere. Everybody's really kind of, sitting tight and wants to talk more about this. There's 2 slides. There's this one and there's this one. So we're going to talk through, I think there's a bit of a storyline here to talk through, and Mark does a great job breaking this down. Take it away.
So the key difference is understanding that to install drywall, the materials are obviously less expensive. You got drywall and you got metal stud to put up. What the expense is there is that you have multiple trades to do that, right? There's the framer, the drywall person, the painter, it's all different trades. And then every instance that you need to build a temp wall or reconfigure it, you got to tear it all down, put it in the dumpster, send it away, clean it up, rebuild it somewhere else, do it all over again. So you've got dumpster costs, cleaning costs, a lot of extraneous costs there. Whereas Swiftwall, you have basic labor, it goes up, 5 times faster. So you're reducing the number of hours it takes to install it. So you're saving money immediately in the installs. And then you can reuse the material over and over. And the material is really an asset. Drywall and studs, that's a consumable material. Any type of a temp wall, that is an asset that you can reuse over and over, and you don't have to keep purchasing those materials. So if you want to go ahead and switch to that next slide. So this kind of shows the cost breakdown and how I said the material. So for example, if you look up at the top, this is a 30 by 30 by 10 foot structure. So if you look on the top left, there's two blue boxes there. So that's for drywall, the metal stud, the door panel, and miscellaneous materials. So materials are at $2,200 for that install. Versus with Swiftwall or a temporary wall, you're at about $15,000 for the materials, $1,000 for the door, and miscellaneous, bracing and things like that. So there is a significant difference in that material cost. Now look at the labor. The labor.
Oh, we might have lost Mark. Mark, still there?
The drywall and studs.
Mark,
I'm here.
Mark, just back up 30 seconds. You went pause. You locked up. You said, now let's look at the labor and. Yep.
Got it. Thanks, Frank. So the labor for installing the drywall is $13,000. So you see that's the contractor to paint it, to clean it up, to remove it, etc. So you're at $15,000 for the first install. Whereas with Swiftwall or a temporary wall, you're at roughly $20,000 for the first install. So now let's do that over 5 times. You have to spend $15,000 every single time for that same structure over and over with drywall. So you're at $77,000. Whereas you've only had to purchase the material 1 time with temp walls. So that cost doesn't go over the 5 times, only the materials can, or the labor continues, and the labor cost is significantly cheaper. So that project is now at $28,000. So you're saving over 50 or nearly $50,000 just in 5 reuses. So that's a phenomenal return on investment with an asset.
Yeah, I would almost say that, short-term pain, long-term gain, right?
Yeah,
There's going
absolutely.
to be some upfront cost, but all of a sudden, over 5 or 6 or 7 uses, you're saving a ton of money downstream. And if you, as a company, have any kind of sustainability initiatives, this is a no-brainer, right? This is the only way you can go when you're talking about temporary walls. You have to start using these types of reusable supplies, reusable solutions, right?
And Frank, what's not included here is I get to get the cash register running way sooner, right? So if I had to do this project with stud and drywall, it's going to take me 2 or 3 weeks or months, depending, right, to build this thing out. Now I can go in and build it out in a day. Boom, I can start generating revenue right away.
Sure.
So that's a huge additional, you should add that into your cost savings.
You should totally. If you can open up your space faster, start using your space faster, or not infringe on a space for a long period of time, like you said, get the cash register running right away, right?
One more example. So that great picture that you had of the great space in Denver Airport.
Yep.
You know how they had to get all that material in there? On carts and a pallet, went right in there, one shipment, boom, it was all in there. They got it in there, 0 dark 30, 4 o'clock in the morning, had it built before the end of the day. If you had to do that with stud and drywall, multiple shipments, multiple things going in and out, taking forever and all the labor to bring in stud, drywall, paint, all the materials. This got in there. So if you look at logistically, if you had to build this and you can build it with temp walls so fast.
Yeah, I love that. And labor, time, dust, dirt, easy. These are all power words, especially when you're talking about timelines on projects, right? Okay, there's a couple of extra questions. I think I can answer a bunch of these. Can I rent if I don't want to purchase? Absolutely. Absolutely. We welcome that. We will inventory. We will manage that inventory for you. We will warehouse that. If you need it, you call us. Hey, I got a 6-month project, a 9-month project. Package up what we need, get it out to you, help you install or install it for you, or just give it to you and you can install it. Then we'll come and tear it down and we'll bring it back to our place and warehouse it again. You have another project 6 months later, out it goes again. You're just paying for a rental. That's all. It's on a monthly or 6 months or 12-month contract. We'd work on that with you. Please show the slide with your international locations again. Absolutely. Oh, there's the North America. Oh, there we go. So we're in the UK, several locations throughout India. We do have offices in China and UAE. Now, full disclosure, we don't have drywall, switch wall there at the moment, but we can get creative if we need to. If you have a big enough project, we could certainly talk to you and talk about logistics of getting it there for you. Some other questions. What bracing is used behind these walls for stability? I think that's a great question. And while Mark and Evan are talking that through, I'm going to try to pull up a couple of pictures.
So there's 3 typical ways of doing bracing. One is you can use studs, right? So studs are one way. 2, you can actually use the walls as kickbacks. You can take 2 walls and put them back to back. And the one that we love the best are these that Frank has got up here. So these are reusable stands, right? So those stands, and those attach right to the walls. And then you can, depending on the environment, because you want to protect the floor or how you can connect to the floor. Typically with a temp wall, you're rarely ever screwing into the floor. You're using double-sided stick tape, sandbags, etc. But you can tap con down into the floor with these stands if you need it. So it just depends on the environment, what the wind load is.
Yep. I've seen corner bracing. I've seen, if you have a small enough structure, it doesn't need any of this space, this framing at all, because the wall itself will contain itself, and the angles and the corners are pretty sturdy. Evan, anything else to add on the bracing?
Yeah, so they go up super easy. We prefer using these folding stands just because they are easy to break down, easy to erect. They are completely durable, reusable. But we can do all kinds of different types of bracing. We have different feet stand bracing. We can build metal stud bracing. We can configure it in such a way that you can also do traditional tie into ground, tie into structure. So there's many different ways to brace the barricade walls, just like your plywood or drywall, if not more options here, because it is lightweight yet still durable.
Yeah.
You know, like in the events and entertainment, right? They don't necessarily want to see that big yellow brace there, right? So that's where you would use some cross bracing. You might use some cross bracing, or Evan alluded to, there are stands that actually go underneath the wall that you can either a sandwich stand connect into, or it's got a rod that slides up into where the tongue and joint are connected. So
It looks like our audience is staying with us, guys. So I'm going to keep going with some more questions because hardly anybody has left the room here. So one of the questions that came up is, what is a typical lead time on an order of, say, 20 walls? It's difficult to answer that, Mr. Anonymous attendee, in the question without knowing your location. But the idea is we have strategically placed inventory around North America and basically America at this point. And we're not, if you're in LA, we're right down the street. If you're in San Fran, we're right down the street. You're in Ohio, we're right down the street, right? You're in Chicago, right down the street. So we started building these inventories around the country where stuff's ready to go. It's on the shelf. It's ready to be delivered, and a day, 2-3 days lead time, we'll be able to get it to you there.
you can will call it. You can will call it at your locations, right?
We will call. If you got the truck, come on in. We'll load you up, and off you go. Of course, my operational counterparts who are probably listening in on this are saying, Frank, never say 1 day lead time. But the idea is it's not far from you, and we're going to continue to build our inventory around the states. But what would a typical lead time be on? Do our offices even have, our warehouses have 20 panels to go?
All of your locations have quite a few. You could do at least a truckload. If you needed more than a truckload, at least every one of your locations, your dealer locations, have at least a truckload of materials available. And when I say truckload, I'm talking about a 53-foot semi. And the worst case scenario, if any of if the order came up from any place in the United States and we had to drop ship it from here to your customer, for you, it would take, a day or two of packaging. So 48 hours of packaging. And then whatever the truck drive time is, whether it be a day from Michigan to California, Evan, is 4 days?
Yeah, it's that. I mean, we have product ready to go at our dealerships. We'll satisfy your need, and we'll do whatever it takes to meet that need. So we'll work with you on deadlines.
Fabulous. Another question we had come in: do these modular walls require building permits?
So typically, no, it doesn't require a building permit, but we always tell you to check with your municipality. We don't, every municipality has different inspectors and different requirements. So it depends on what classification you're putting them in, right? If you're doing a temporary wall, 180 days, you typically don't.
Got it.
And sometimes they're installed as furniture, like
Excellent.
for office, like building out of offices, that's furniture.
Yeah, that was another one of the questions. Are modular walls okay for offices or residential?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yep. So another question that came in is, can temporary barricades be painted or only covered with wall graphics?
So all of our pro walls with the ABS skin on it can be primed and painted. When you're dealing with the aluminum, you've got a powder coated skin. You can still prime and paint it, just a little more difficult than that ABS skin.
Yeah, and from a graphic stance, Frank, we can put the right ABV solution, adhesive back vinyl solution, but we can also go outside of the box. So we can use unique solutions. Like on one barricade system for a retail center, we used a cool hologram vinyl that was just beautiful and really made the area pop. We can use like matte and gloss spot, so we can really make it pop. Silver, golds, brushed metals. It could be a long line of adhesive vinyls.
Got it. Great.
And then another thing that you can special order. So if for some reason your target and you're here and you want all red walls, we can produce all red walls for you. So, and what's cool about that is the color is in the pigmentation, so you don't get scratches and things like that. If somebody scratches the wall, it's through and through red.
Yeah, and Frank, think about having these pre-branded. So like if you're in a retail space, we could pre-brand these panels. So having that step and repeat or that client's logo that runs on those panels always, and then we flip that guy over since they're two-sided. Now somebody's moving in, we can reconfigure the barricade and put that coming soon graphic specifically for that retail company that's moving in. Same thing at the airports or anywhere, right? So you can have them pre-branded panels with their logos, their imagery, ready to go.
Yeah, awesome, great.
And just because I know we've got some military folks on here, so if you need it camouflage or you need it desert, desert sand color, we can do that for you too. So great for combat operations centers, COCs, all those type of things.
Yep. Speaking of Mark's heart as a Marine.
I had a little flashback there, sorry.
Right on, right on. Okay, I don't see any other questions in the chat or in the Q&A. We'll give it maybe 60 seconds for anybody that has a last minute question. We'd love to hear from you. I want to take a moment and first thank our audience for joining us today. I know you all have busy schedules, and yet you took some time out of your day to come hang out with us. So thank you. And I really want to put a huge thanks out to Mark and to Evan. I know you guys are wicked busy as well. So hearing your expertise, just your confidence, the ins and outs, you tell a heck of a story, and I think we all gained from it today. Thank you for joining us. For one more reminder for everybody on the call, we will be sending out this recording and a slide deck. So you'll have all these materials that you can chew on and work with your other management teams or other project teams to talk to about them. And there's a phone number on the screen there. We'd love for you to give us a call and start a dialogue, start a conversation. Let's talk about your next project. How can we help you get barrier walls up and graphics? Let's bring those things to life. Evan, Mark, any last minute comments?
No, it's a great. Go ahead, Mark.
Go ahead, Evan.
I was just going to say thanks for having us. Great conversation. The sustainability, the reusable factor of it. We're doing great things here, right? Trying to keep all that waste out of the trash. Let's do good to the earth here.
Yeah, I'm going to copy what you said. I agree. I'm very thankful. It's because of you all and everybody that attended here that we get to do this. We appreciate you guys being thoughtful about the earth, and we're here to support you in any way you need. So.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Evan. See you guys soon.
Thanks, Cheers. Frank. Take care, all.